Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining the webinar today. What we're going to talk about is this Accessibility Works initiative that we have at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, but more specifically, the Abilities Connect Fund. And what we're going to go through is the slide deck, how it works, how it will help companies that are looking to access talent from the accessibility talent pool, how the program can help them do that. So we'll just start by doing a quick overview and then get into the nuts and bolts of the program. If you have any questions, you can certainly stop me at any time with questions, and I'll try and answer them the best I can.
And you can either use the public chat function on the left-hand side of the screen, or you can unmute at any time and then let us know. Both we'll be monitoring both for questions.
Thanks very much, Matt, for the technical aspects of that. So let's just start very quickly. So the Abilities Connect Fund was launched in June of this year. We're currently in the process of creating awareness and developing partnerships with organizations across the province in order to funnel applications into the fund. Really, what's it all about? It's about raising that awareness among small and medium-sized businesses in terms of the benefits of hiring persons with disabilities. That's really the basic premise of the fund. We want to assist SMEs in helping integrate people with disabilities seamlessly into the workforce. And we also want to assist people with disabilities to improve their employment outcomes and career trajectories through the fund. So, it's the very things that many organizations and folks like yourself, you've been trying to do for years. What we hope this fund does is provide you with another resource that you can help make those connections between employers and persons with disabilities. There's really three streams under the fund, but the two I'll talk about today is Stream 1 and Stream 2, because the third one is about creating a champions network, which doesn't have any funding attached to it in terms of what people can apply through or through the application process. So the value in abilities employment, it's really all about trying to connect employers with persons with disabilities in order for them to meet their employment requirements. As you can see on the slide there, it talks about its opportunities for college and university students or recent graduates with disability. We just changed that recently, so although it's preferred, it really will help provide employment opportunities for any person with a disability, not just those individuals that are currently at a college or university or a recent graduate. Okay, so the employer applications, these are the eligibility criteria. So these are the types of employers that we're focusing on. They can be either for-profit or not-for-profit. They have to have at least 5 to 500 employees. If someone has less than 5, if they have 4 or maybe 3, we will consider their application based on the merits of the application. Obviously, they have to be operating in Ontario. They have to be operating for a minimum of 2 years. And we do ask for a self-declaration from the organizations that apply to us that are in compliance, that they be in compliance with all government laws and regulations, as you can see on their labor laws, AODA, WSIB, etc. Okay, and the company that applies to us can't be receiving funds from any other public source towards the activities that are being asked for in the application. I failed to mention at the beginning, this is a pilot program. We'll probably be operating this for the next year and a bit, probably year and 2 and 3 months as we go forward. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to gauge the response of a demand-led type of program like this. Many of the programs are not demand-led, so we're trying to, through this option, decide what works, what doesn't work, and if we have an opportunity to create a broader program in the future, what can we do to make it better? So in terms of if you're looking for the preferred candidates, when people talk about, well, what does recent graduate means, it's within 4 years of graduation, and they don't necessarily have to have graduated. As long as they took courses from a college or universities with the past 4 years, that would meet the definition of a recent grad. But as I said earlier, we just recently changed that about 2 weeks ago, and now I'm being told 1 week ago. I've been given the word here by one of my colleagues. We changed this 1 week ago, so now even though that's a preferred, It does apply to any person with a disability. So employers can submit their applications. So what they need to do is when they're offering employment, the employment period has to be for a minimum of 4 months. And if it's within that at least 4 months, we will consider their application, and we will provide supports in terms of what the company is eligible under the employment stream. And this is what we'll provide. As long as the employment offer is on a 12-month basis, so the employment offer on a 12-month basis, we will provide up to 8 weeks of a training enhancement to the organization. And what do we mean by that training enhancement? If it's a for-profit company that applies to us, we will provide 75% of the person they hire will provide 75% of their salary for that during that 8-week training incentive. And if it's a not-for-profit, we will provide 90% of that 8 weeks. So everything is prorated on a 12-month employment period. And the 12 months, so if a company applies to us and what they're doing is they're have an employment period that they're looking for is 6 months, then that incentive of 8 weeks drops down to 4 weeks. So it's all prorated on a 12-month employment period. I should say also that this program is available for co-op students, internships. It can be either full-time or it can be part-time. What we're looking for is good companies with good job opportunities or employment opportunities, and that's where, as we can't be all over the province because we're structured, we're settled here in the Toronto area and we're going to get applications from all over Ontario, you do need a reference. So if an employer wants to tap into this program because they're thinking of hiring a person with a disability, then they do need a reference, and they can get references from either the Business Advisory Services from the Ministry of Economic Development, Employment and Infrastructure, or they can get it from an ODSP office, they can get it from an Employment Ontario office, or they can get it from any of the career centers or accessibility centers from one of the colleges and universities across the province. So in terms of, how much can an employer get from one application, there's a maximum of $20,000 there per application. They can hire a maximum of 4 individuals in that one application. Now, costs cannot be incurred prior to approval. So what that means is this: they can source the individual, they can get them all lined up, but they can't actually start the job in advance of them getting approval from the application through the application process. Because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to encourage new hires. We're not trying to provide an incentive for existing hires. But and that sometimes can present a challenge for the applicants, because here they are, they're busy trying to determine who it is that they would like to hire, and then all of a sudden they've made a match, and then they're looking for a quick turnaround on an approval, and we understand that. That's why what we say to folks is, as we talk to organizations like you on the phone, we'd like to create a partnership with you. We'd like to create a program with you that when you're starting to work with employers and they're starting to determine who the matches would be for their organizations and for the job that they have available, you work with us. We will work with you. They can send in the application even though it's not absolutely complete yet, because then we know that it is a new hire so that they won't get caught up in this cost can't be incurred prior to application approval. So that's really what we would like to see after this webinar, is that if you folks are interested in having the funds support what you're trying to do, please contact us and we'll set up a program with you, whether it's Jeff or Leslie or Ishi in the office. We'll set up that program with you so we can actually fast track those applications so that we don't hold up that hiring process. And any questions? Maybe let me just stop there for a second. That was pretty quick. I went pretty quick in terms of the employment side. Before I get to this last page on employment, is there any questions at all that you may have on that? I think someone's trying to ask a question. I'm not sure that I can't hear.
Hear us?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm just wondering if information is shared. With programs in the past, if an organization goes to trouble, finds a great candidate, and they fail at that position for reasons of logistics. In other words, that maybe they have to work with 2 transportation agencies to get to work, and it's not working, but their skills are everything you hope they would be. Can you share information so they might be able to get a job with someone else?
Can we share that information about the candidate?
Yeah.
No, we would not do that.
Okay.
Okay, because that's, information, that's their information, and it's related to the application in question.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it was to their advantage, so they could share it, I guess would be the thing. But can one candidate benefit from this program with several different employers, or is it candidate restricted?
It depends. If a candidate has employment with let's say, employer A, and what happens is they're into the employment period, and for whatever reasons, that employment period ends, again, like you say, logistics, and then if another employer decides to hire that individual, then the second employer could apply through the program. Okay? Let me explain how we pay out, and maybe this might help. So what we would do is this. So let's say an employer comes to us, they fill out the application, they're hiring someone for a 12-month period. So what we would do is if the application was approved, there would be some reporting requirements on behalf of the employer. And what we're looking for is we're looking for information that indicates that the person was employed for a period of that employment, and then we would cover our portion of that expense. So on a 12-month period, there would probably be maybe depending on what the employer wants to do with us, we would work with them, but we could either have a midterm reporting of 6 months, so they would give us some information that indicates that the person was employed for that period of 6 months, and then we would pay out our 4 weeks. At the end, when the 12-month period has been achieved, then we would pay out the other 4 weeks. If the employer wishes and they want to do it on 4 times where they send us information, so it would be at the 3-month point, 6-month point, 9-month point, and 12-month point, we could sort that out with the employer, and then we would pay a quarter of what we have to pay out during the term of that 12-month employment period. That's why I think we're able to switch it. So if an individual, leaves a place of employment and then they end up signing on with another employer, we will consider the application from the next employer. Okay? Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The other thing that we will do under this stream is we'll cover externally incurred training costs. Okay, and by that we mean this. Any employer that's hired, by an organization, there's always an orientation or a training period or training that the individual would undertake. If the employer has to source an external trainer because they've hired a person with a disability, we're prepared to take a look at the cost of that external training. Again, for the for-profit, we would take a look at 75% of those costs. And for a not-for-profit, we would take a look at 90% of those costs. And people have asked us, well, does this mean that, you'll have someone that could sit at the workplace with the person with a disability, if it's a 6-month employment period for the entire 6 months? The answer to that question is no. What we're looking at is that short-term support that the individual may need, that the company may have to, source and pay external costs to get them to understand, how the job works. Maybe there's some specialized supports they would need during the first, 1 or 2 weeks when they first onboard them with the company. More than happy to look at that, but we can't because the fund just isn't large enough to do that ongoing job coaching at the employment site. So that's basically it about the employment stream. Like I said, there is an application process that an employer has to fill out. It's actually fairly simple. It's about 6 or 7 pages. We basically collect the basic information about the organization. We collect information about the job itself, because we're looking for real employment opportunities. We collect information about the salary that the employer will be paying the individual. We would like to know a little bit about the supervision plan, so what plan is in place for the individual to get some supports when they're there on the job. You know, we're taking a look at, obviously, the employment period that they're going to hire them for, and that's basically about it. The other thing is we collect a little more information from the reference. You know, as I mentioned earlier, those various organizations that have to be the reference for one of the employers, and we're only doing that because we want to make sure that the fit is a good fit between the employer and the individual that's being matched. Now, the second stream, pretty much similar, same type of eligibility requirements on behalf of the company. Nothing there has changed. The difference is here, what we're supporting is we're supporting the purchase of assistive devices by either that for-profit or that not-for-profit organization that is either going to hire a person with a disability or currently has a person with disability on staff, or maybe someone who has been working with a company for 5 or 6 years, you know, has an accident and they acquire a disability. This part of the program can help that company in helping purchase that assistive device for that individual employee. And the assistive device has to be specific to the workplace. It cannot be a recreational device or a personal device. Also, we will not take a look at modifications to the physical plant of a building, because again, our fund is not that large for us to entertain that kind of request. In terms of this part of the program, again, the objectives are basically the same, so I'm really not going to get into that. But under the application, they can access up to $3,000 maximum per application for the purchase of that assistive device. And that also includes, because if there's specialized training that an individual would need once that assistive device is purchased, that $3,000 does include a portion of that money can go towards externally costed and incurred specialized training that the company would undertake for the individual, and also you know, for an assessment. So in many situations, an assessment would be needed to ensure that the assistive device that's being purchased is the right device for the individual. So we'll pick up to $500 of that assessment under the program. Now, in terms of the splits on assistive devices, they're a little different from the employment side. For the not-for-profit, we'll pick up 90% of that cost of the assistive device. For the for-profit, we'll pick up 60% of the cost of that assistive device. Again, same application. Companies can apply for both streams in one application. So we're trying to make this as streamlined as possible. Again, if they're only applying for the assistive device, what we're collecting there is the basic information about the company. We're collecting the type of assistive device that needs to be purchased. We're collecting the cost, and we're collecting the assessment to tell us that indeed this is the right assistive device for the individual. In terms of the individuals, what we're looking for is just self-declaration. We're not looking for any more information about the person with a disability other than that's been self-declared that they have a disability. So we're not looking for any details or medical information when it comes to the information that's being gathered through the application process. So as you can see on the next slide, what we've listed there is a bunch of various types of assistive devices that we will support. Like you can see, there's writing aids, optical character recognition software, teletyping, and IT, visual graphic organizers, those kinds of things. That is not an all-exhaustive list. If there's something that the company thinks that they need to get for the individual, we're more than happy to look at it, because we obviously couldn't put on there every single assistive device that is available out there. In terms of non-eligible costs, I said that earlier, no structural changes. We won't be doing that. And the one thing I should say, these assistive devices are the property of the employer, because they're the ones that will pay their portion of it. However, as you folks know, many of these assisted devices are very much suited to individuals and their specific needs. So if, perchance, the individual doesn't stay with the company and the company would like to give that device to the individual, they just need to send us an email and we will agree to allow that to happen. That's not an issue for us at all, because we know that we don't want a whole bunch of assisted devices stacked up in a corner someplace and not being used when they could be being used by the individuals that need that type of support. So that's essentially it in terms of the program. It's not very complicated. Like I say, we tried to make it very streamlined, very simple to access. Really, the important part is about setting up a program with you folks. If you think it's something that you can use, to help place some of the people that you're working with into an employment opportunity. Because if we don't create a program with you, what we're finding is it's just another piece of information that you get, and everyone gets busy, and then they don't necessarily use the opportunity that we're offering here. So really, that's what this is about, is sharing with you what the program is. Hopefully you'll find it something that will help you in the daily work that you do, and that you can contact us, and you can see the contact names on there. There's email, there's phone numbers. You can contact us, and then we can set up that program with you so we can fast-track your applications. So any questions? I don't think I'm seeing any coming up. Hang on, Matt's going to check for us. Yeah, and you can either ask a question, through typing it in, I guess, or through the audio. Well, if there's no questions, can I ask a question? And I don't know how you all answer at once. Maybe you can just send us some quick text here through the webinar platform. The question I would ask, is this something that you see that resonates, that you could use as a tool in your daily work? That's great. And I don't know if everyone can see all the text coming in, or if it's just us, but I've got, we think so, absolutely, yes I do, indeed. So it seems like, yes we do, so it seems like it will resonate. So what I would suggest for you folks that think that it does resonate and that it will help you, please contact us so that we can set up the program with you and fast track those applications. The other thing that we will do is, because many times, organizations are very, very good at what they do. What we find is they're not very good at filling out applications. And that's where the staff in our office can work with you to help the companies that are applying for the program fill out the application in a way that makes some sense, in a way that we've seen these applications get approved before. That way they have a good chance of accessing the funds under the program. Okay. So that's all I have to say. If there's, I'll just wait a couple more minutes if there's any more questions. If not,
yeah. Well, so we recorded the session, and you have the slides with you there that I sent around. But if you have any questions, or if you'd like the slides sent to you, you can email myself as well. And if you'd like a recording of this, it should be ready in a couple of days from now that we can send to you to revisit the presentation.
The other thing I could offer maybe is, if you folks would like a copy of our actual application, or you'd like a copy of the application guide and the program guide, more than happy to send it to you. Just send us an email, and we will send you that information as soon as we get your email.
Louis, that would be great if you could send it along. It's Michelle Marshall. Certainly when we have the link to this presentation, we would include that in our upcoming digest that we send out to all of our members in the community, so that they will be able to review the deck, the presentation, and then connect to those forms if they want to.
Now, I'll ask Matt a technical question. Can we just send that out to everybody that's on the call so they don't have to send us an email?
I have all their emails, so because they've RSVP'd. So anyone who has RSVP'd, I have them all in an Excel sheet, so I can just blast to them one email. So if everyone has RSVP'd to myself and you got an email from me, I can send it out to you later. If you did not receive an email to sign up for this webinar, just email me, but if not, I will make sure you're already on the list to receive it.
Yeah, and we'll give you the updated slide deck with the change that's in there as well. So that way you'll have the latest information.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Again, I can't stress enough, contact us so we can set up a program with you, because the last thing we want to do, if people think this is something that they can use as a tool in their daily work, and then we don't set up the fast-track process with you, then what will happen is companies that have made a match, then there'll be delays, and it becomes problematic for them, and we don't want that to happen. We want to make this go very, very quick, very, very smooth for everyone concerned. Okay, thanks again, folks. Thank you very, very much for being with us this afternoon, and we hope to be working with you in the very, very near future.